What's up, everyone? I am Daniel Hofflich, and man, tonight is a special one. This is awesome. You are watching Final Fan TV, and this is Final Podcast 5. One of my goals when starting FFTV was to spotlight Final Fantasy developers, voice actors, and content creators on this podcast. So far, we have been blessed to have had Final Fantasy VII novels author M.J. Gallagher on the show to discuss his excellent work and his most recent work, The Norse Myths That Inspired Final Fantasy VII. Check that book out, please. Last week, we were graced by the presence of John Eric Bentley, voice of Barrett Wallace. What a fantastic time that was, guys. Just an all-around great person. You know what I mean?
Hyped.
Just an all-around great person.
He's my favorite person on the internet. So
seriously, man, what a good person.
Great guy.
And now,
best buddies with him now, you know.
Yeah, we're great.
We are.
Yeah, yo, JB. And now we host another very talented member of the Final Fantasy community. I discovered his channel leading up to the release of Final Fantasy VII Remake. I enjoyed his content for a very long time, and he was one of the first people I contacted to ask to be on this show. I respect this dude so much. He is Soldier First Class.
Hello, everybody. Talented might be a little bit of a loaded word, but I appreciate it.
Very talented, man. I love your work, dude. I followed, like I said, I followed you like when Final Fantasy VII Remake was on its way out. I got all my information from you. Well, not all of it, but you know what I'm saying. I loved your thoughts, your inputs on it, and yeah, it's great to have you on the show, Alex. I'm gonna call you Alex now because
that's fine. I'm glad to be here.
All my notes say, "Let Soldier speak." so go ahead and speak, Soldier.
If you don't know, I'm Soldier First Class from YouTube. I make Final Fantasy content. I've kind of branched into variety stuff, but for the most part, I'm a Final Fantasy content creator, and I can't wait for Final Fantasy XVI.
Yes, that's going to be that is a very big topic for tonight. I can't wait to dive into that one. But before we begin, I would like to introduce ourselves. We are Final Fan TV. On this channel, we aspire to create awesome Final Fantasy content that we hope you enjoy listening to and watching to. Currently, we are focused on our weekly show, Final Podcast. That's this show. As the channel levels up, much like a character gains new abilities, we have plans to start new shows, like Let's Plays of the entire franchise, in-depth reviews of each Final Fantasy, and more frequently posted news and rumor shows, and more. You are among the first to start a new game with Final Fan TV, so we must ask you to attack the thumbs up button, select the subscribe option, and level grind that share button, especially this video that has Soldier First Class on it. Come on, share it.
That's right.
My name is Daniel Hofflich. I am your host, and in our party is the FFTV team members, Vinny McGovern and Osby Tomlin. How you guys doing? Start with Osby. What's up, dude?
Oh man, we're good. We're great. We're in another fantastic podcast. We got this awesome guest on here tonight. This is Soldier First Class, and we are going to talk about new possibilities with this this upcoming number 16. Ooh, girl, let's do it.
Ooh, girl.
So excited.
Vinny,
same here.
So I'm excited to have Soldier on, or Alex, as I will call him now, because when I started watching his videos, one thing stood out to me right from the jump. I love metal. I love metal covers. I love Final Fantasy music. And the first thing I hear from his videos are a metal cover of the fight theme in Final Fantasy VII. I thought that was amazing.
So good.
I like Vinny already.
It gets you hyped to watch your videos. Like it could just be like bleep, 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 and then like just rocking out for a little bit, and then hey everybody, what's up? Like,
I was like, why isn't that in the remake?
That's like my whole atmosphere. Balls to the wall for like 10 seconds, and then boom, I'm there. And everybody's just like, well, that doesn't make sense. Well, who's this guy?
I'm so hyped to watch him though. Let me tell you that.
They're like, who's this guy with this nerd beard and his weird hat? Like,
Now, Alex, one thing that I do want to talk to you about before we jump into Final Fantasy 16 and all the goodness of that, you got a PlayStation 5. You got it on launch day. I got a Series X on launch day. Now,
I'm sorry.
see, I knew it. I've based on your Twitter responses. Let me explain. All right.
I didn't get either.
and I'm
did I.
sorry to say, Vinny and Osby do not have either. So they'll be the relating to the viewers at home that do not have one, and they'll be asking us questions or whatever if they have any. But me personally, I got the Series X on launch, and I got the PS5 at launch. Now here's the dilemma, all right, that I'm facing. I wanted to recapture that feeling of a kid opening like his N64. I wanted to recapture that moment, right? And I was like, I haven't been able to do it because as an adult, you just go out and you buy it. You know what I mean? So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna leave it in its packaging and I'll get it for Christmas. You know what I mean? And the reason why
I don't.
do that, I chose to do it with the PlayStation because I'm actually slightly more excited for the PlayStation 5. So I wanted to be extremely excited to open this present. So I'm excited to talk to you, Alex, about your thoughts on the PlayStation 5. And I'll share my thoughts on the Xbox Series X. Who would you like to go first, Alex? Would you like me to share my thoughts on the Series X, or would you like to go ahead and kick it off with your PlayStation?
Go right ahead.
Okay. Now I've had the Xbox Series X since launch. Here is my first impressions, a very short review. The Series X feels like a big upgrade to the One X. But if you have an original Xbox One or a One S, well, it's going to be a massive upgrade. The user interface and the user experience, it remains identical. It's just snappier and faster. So I kind of missed out on that. Oh my God, I just bought a brand new next gen console feel. And you'll if you're at home and you get a Series X, you'll notice that you'll be like, oh man, this is basically just a really faster and snappier Xbox One X. But here's where my number one thing goes, and this is actually a Series X exclusive capabilities right now. Quick resume.
They have those.
Yeah, dude. This is a Xbox exclusive.
I guess they ought to have something exclusive.
They have it, and it is called Quick Resume. And man, let me tell you, it is a literal game changer. I'm sure you've heard that from everywhere, but it's literal game changing. So you can swap between different games, and it only takes maybe a matter of 5 to 10 seconds, and it'll pick up right where you left off, which was amazing. I was playing Final Fantasy 15. I was just running out in the field doing my thing. And then I swap over to Gears 5, swapped over to Forza and a couple other games. I come back to 15 and I pick up literally right where I left off. And that right there is just my favorite thing to do. It's just my favorite thing to do right now. But if you want showcase games, they're not out for Series X yet. The only game that you'll get that I think personally is a showcase game is Watch Dogs Legion. Because Watch Dogs Legion has these amazing ray trace reflections. Of course, you can find that on PlayStation 5, but on Series X, if you want a showcase game, that's the one to go to. If you want to showcase games like Miles Morales, Demon Souls, and even Astro's Playroom, that's going to be packed in with the PS5. That's where you got to go for that. But that's not to say that there's not going to be any games for Xbox. I'm sure if you're listening to this, you're a gamer, you know this. They have acquired a lot of studios. A lot of good stuff is coming out. And yes, they will actually have exclusives eventually. Eventually, they will have exclusives. And I got to give a shout out to Tetris Effect Connected because, yes, Tetris is a showcase game on a next-gen console. Oh my God, it is beautiful. It is entrancing in 4K HDR. But yeah, so that's basically my thoughts on the Series X. It's the fast loads and quick resumes. And then I guess the last thing I'll say, Wreckfest is a game that I really enjoyed playing. But it would take maybe 2 minutes to load on the Xbox One. It loads in a matter of 30 seconds. I am in a race from home screen to racing in 30 seconds. And it's just makes me so happy. Alex, what are your thoughts on, I guess you've had it for the weekend,
Yep.
PlayStation 5?
So far, I really like the UI. It's very clean, very compact. One thing about the PS4 was that the icons were very large, and you would have to scroll through everything. And it seems like on the PS5, they're going more of like how the Switch does it, where if you have several games installed, there's only like your top 7, I believe, at the top, and then everything else is relegated to your installs. And it's very clean. The store is very clean again. It's very easily navigated. They actually have button inputs now. Like if you press the PS button, all of your options for like your friends and stuff like that is along the bottom, so you don't have to worry about it clogging up your screen. It's just a button press away. The load times are extremely fast. In the original Spider-Man PS4, you would go from like inside of an enemy base where you were doing a mission to the outside world, and you would have a loading screen, or you would have some sort of buffering and loading to get back into the city. In Miles Morales on PS5, literally, I was in a base, shot through a tube out into the city, and it was already loaded.
That's
So
incredible,
it went from an interior location to an outer location in literally no time. And so like I also tested out NBA 2K21, and from the time that it takes you to get to the home screen into a play now game is probably about 20 seconds.
Wow.
Put a time on it. 20 to 25 seconds, you are in a play now game on NBA 2K21.
Nice.
Awesome.
Other than that, things like the 3D audio, which you're going to get with the Xbox Series X, that they share a lot of similar features. Games wise, I think the launch lineup for PS5 is pretty strong. It's a very good console. It's very fast. The ray tracing is amazing on it. The performance boost for PS4 games is insane if they've got a patch. I played Ghost of Tsushima for about 20 minutes, and it is on PS5. If you play the obviously only the PS4 version, but it goes to 60 FPS automatically day one out of the box for Ghost of Tsushima.
Wow.
I can't wait.
Yeah, it's insane. It's a game changer, dude. Like it looks so much better and plays so much smoother on PS5, and it's a PS4 game. Like you wouldn't expect that kind of that performance boost, but it really does. It's insane. But yeah, I love my PS5. I think I made a very good choice.
Awesome.
So can I just say something? Listening to you guys talk about these systems and like all their power and strength and everything, do you know what game just completely took over my mind thinking about how amazing it would look in a next gen in either PS5 or Xbox Series X? Is Prototype.
Oh wow, like old school Prototype game, yeah.
I'm thinking about it like that
Didn't
open world.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, man. I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. They made Prototype 1 and 2. I don't know if they ever made a third one, but
No, they didn't.
They were both on Xbox 360.
Is this the same team? Correct me if I'm wrong.
Naughty Dog, I believe, right?
No,
No?
I'm pretty sure this is the same team that went on to make Warframe. If I'm not, I could be wrong about that. I feel like they went on to create Warframe.
I didn't play Warframe too much.
I wish this was
Warframe
kind of
cool.
funny. You could go to, finalfantv.com/you're wrong, but that's not how we do it. But
leave it in the comments.
Yeah.
Like and subscribe and tell us how awful we are with our facts.
I'm pretty sure they went on to make Warframe, which, dude, if you liked that game, I mean, Warframe looks incredible. They did a PS5 patch as well.
I think any game really that goes to it on a previous gen, if they have it to where it's unlocked and you can play 60 FPS, I think any action game at this point would look amazing. Like Devil May Cry 5 Special Edition is phenomenal.
Mm-hmm. I would love to see it, because I know with Final Fantasy 15, they if you play on the performance mode or something like that, it is a solid rocking 60 frames per second, no dips. But I would love for them just to release a simple update that gives you the Windows version where it's uncapped and you can run it at 4K. I think that would be great. Just give us the next gen performance mode or something, so I can play 15 on 4K uncapped frames. I think that would be great.
So I have a question for Alex, because so the price difference, because I don't have either, and money is kind of the situation as to why I don't have them right now. I know for the difference between the PS5 and the cheaper version of the PS5 is literally just the disk drive, correct?
Yep.
So that's the only difference. And if you're completely a digital person, really don't like hard disks, then you don't really lose out on anything for getting the cheaper version.
No, specs wise, the PS5s are both the same. I think it's the Xbox Series X and the Series S that are different.
Mhm.
But yeah, if you're going for same performance, just minus a disk drive, you're gonna go PS5.
Okay.
Yeah, I would actually advise going with the disc version. It does pay for itself in the long run. If you say you bought Ghost of Tsushima on disc, I mean, I know GameStop, everybody likes to make jokes about it, but you do get like at least, a good $15 back. You know what I mean? And then if you add those up games that you've had during the life cycle of the PlayStation 5, I think it's going to surpass $100 difference. And you'll make that back with games that you trade in. So for me, I would go disc drive. I'm not sure what Alex got. I think you got disc drive.
I got disc drive because personally I buy like collector's editions.
And there's that other thing too, like
yeah. And it's like I figure if I'm gonna buy the collector's edition anyway, I don't want the disc to just sit there.
Yeah.
So I usually buy physical just because I like having the disc and the collector's. I mean, I could still buy the collector's edition, but I don't know. I guess maybe I'm weird, but I just want to be able to, put it in the disc drive and play it.
I'm 100% on board with that. I would go disc drive. That's my opinion. And as far as Xbox, on the Xbox side of things, I think the Series X is built for just people who want to get into Game Pass, a way to play Game Pass. I would not recommend Series S. They've already done some comparison videos with Watch Dogs, and it's already noticeably lackluster compared.
It feels last gen compared.
Yeah, it really, really does. It can play these next gen games, but it's not going to play them at a good quality. And I think that in itself I think it's just for people who are like, I'm buying a PlayStation 5, but I really want Game Pass. And I just want to, I don't know. You just kind of want this machine that'll play Game Pass games. Really.
Well, and if you have a PC, you already have Game Pass on there, so it doesn't really make much sense to get an Xbox Series S.
Mm-hmm.
And
now, honestly,
for me, it doesn't even make sense to really get an X because I have a PC. So
because if you have a PC, man, like I was going into this generation for the first time, strongly considering buying just going all out with my a gaming PC, and I mean, when you do the math, like once you total it all up, it is extremely expensive. It's going to be like $2,000, maybe $3,000 to get into like really good PC gaming. Of course, you can get on par with Series X at probably a better price, like maybe $1,000, $1,500. But yeah, even then you're like, oh, okay, for $500, I get that next gen experience. It's convenient. I think one day I will upgrade to a PC, but for now, that I do agree. Like, I mean, it's very clear that Microsoft is supporting to Game Pass, not their consoles. Like,
yeah,
it's very clear.
That's where they make a lot of their money is Game Pass.
Mm-hmm. Not to say that I don't recommend a Series X because I love my experience with it. If you want to stick with consoles, it is on paper the more powerful console compared to PS5. But
yeah, just to clarify, like I own an Xbox One X and a PS5.
Yeah,
or not a Series X, but like a One X. I enjoy Microsoft and Xbox games. I like to talk a lot of smack about it, but I still enjoy those things. It's just funny to kind of
to play on those
console war.
Yeah. Yeah, I own both. Obviously, we're all gamers here. We're just it would be silly to say that nobody has like their preference.
Yeah, at the end of the day, gaming is gaming. If we're having fun, what's it matter?
Yeah, I mean, so I hope you enjoyed this. And Vinny, I'm going to take. I hope everybody at home is enjoying this conversation. Just more informative. We're not trying to say this is a console war, but it's an informative discussion. So, Vinny, what's up, man?
I was just gonna say, I mean, you really limit yourself if you only get like. I understand if people can only afford one system, they're gonna go with their favorite. But if you have, the money to spend on both, why not get both? It's like Alex said, it's a meme. It's a, meme console war and everything. There is no, you're limiting yourself to what you can play. I mean, you have exclusives on both sides, and now Bethesda's with Microsoft. So, you have Elder Scrolls.
I'm not going to lie though. a lot of people are like, "Oh, the console wars are over and stuff." They're really not. Don't be mistaken. Microsoft is not here. Like their whole entire line is this is we're doing this for the players. They're doing it for the money. Game Pass is raking in that money, and it just flows along with their outlook. The console wars are not over, and I personally enjoy them. I love the console wars from Sega versus Nintendo. I love that. I think it's great. I think what's when the fanboys get all like a little too harsh about it, then it gets
personal. When
a
they
little
take
too
it
personal.
personally.
Yeah.
That's when it starts to become like, okay, guys, just calm down. Let it be a fun fun battle. It's a war. It is a console war, but just let it be fun.
I mean, I have no intention of buying the Xbox, and that's not because
I got it.
any other reason than I've always had a PlayStation. I mean, I've got a gaming PC, whatever. PlayStation, man. Like I rock the Vita every day. I mean,
it moves.
And it's like it's dead, and I don't care.
Oh.
No. I mean, this one's not dead, but Vita anyway.
The charger broke, and he literally just carries it around.
I mean, like this is my paperweight. No, I love PlayStation, and I didn't have a Nintendo 64. I had PlayStation. I had Sega. I had PlayStation. Never had Nintendo. And then Xbox happened. I'm like, I already got PlayStation. Stick with that,
Mm-hmm.
But it's exciting to hear both sides of the story. You're giving me reasons why I should consider buying an Xbox. But once they come back in stock, baby, it's PlayStation all the way. You were talking about dropping $2,000 on a gaming PC. Well, right now, if I want to hit up a scalper, I could drop $2,000 on a PS5.
Oh, on a PS5. These.
I mean, that's a whole nother conversation, but just to put things in perspective, you can have that same PS5 experience right now for a solid $19.99.
Don't let those people think that's okay.
It's definitely not okay.
Supporting them is going to make them think, oh, there's people out there who will buy it.
They already think it's okay. So.
Yeah. So Series X has its benefits with the quick resume feature, and that is where I'll leave it there. I love the quick resume feature. It is one of my favorite things about the console. But PlayStation 5 has very unique hardware capabilities, such as the DualSense. Now, we're going to lead right into our next topic and our main topic of the show. Let's talk about the future of Final Fantasy. Oh, it looks so nice. Alex is holding up 2 DualSense controllers. Let's talk about the future of Final Fantasy, more specifically Final Fantasy XVI, which is confirmed to be a PlayStation 5 exclusive, or at least a timed exclusive. But it does not mention, as far as my knowledge goes, it does not mention a PS4 version of this game. So we are assuming that 16 will take full advantage of next-gen capabilities. Now, this is where it gets exciting because we don't know what engine it's running on. I don't think, right, Alex? We don't know what engine?
It looks a little bit like the engine used for 14, which is an upgrade, or not really an upgrade, but a variation on, I believe, Luminous.
Okay. So if it does run on that one, I'm not sure exactly how that would migrate over. But the track record for Square Enix is Unreal Engine 4 with Final Fantasy VII Remake and Kingdom Hearts 3. But I do agree it does kind of look like it may be running on a variant of that Luminous engine. But if it is on Unreal Engine 4, with that in mind, I'd like to talk to you about the certain advantages of that, of maybe migrating over to Unreal Engine 5. A lot of benefits there as well before it releases. Let's start with the PlayStation 5's unique hardware capabilities, the DualSense, and one of its coolest features, the adaptive triggers. How can Final Fantasy XVI take advantage of this? For example, maybe putting the attack command on the triggers to allow for great swords to have a tougher trigger pull. Daggers will be a swift trigger pull. These kind of things are just examples of what we can do with the adaptive triggers. Soldier, what do you think, man?
So I actually was thinking about this before the show, and I thought, what if the triggers were actually used for magic building? So let's say you have a fire spell equipped and you just want to pop off a quick fire shot. So your trigger is going to be like, you're only going to pull it just a little bit, and you're going to start feeling feedback the farther you pull it. The farther you pull it down, the harder it's going to be. And then that's where you get into your more powerful magic. So like, let's say you're shooting off a fire spell and it's you just quick one and then you're done. But you really want to hit an enemy with maybe you've got them stunned, and you really want to hit that fire spell, but you want it to be the most powerful version you've got. You hold down that trigger, but the harder you go, the harder it is to push it down. So it really makes you feel the weight of how much magic you're building up.
That would
Or
be pretty cool, yeah.
if one of the triggers is to block, let's say you're blocking with the left trigger and you're constantly blocking and you're getting hit and your stamina, maybe not necessarily stamina, but your character is starting to feel the weight of those blows. Maybe it's harder to hold the block button because the feedback is saying your character is tired.
That's really interesting. I like that. I'm not sure if I know if the trigger, does it stop? Like, is there a capability of it, like a trigger stop?
So I don't know so far. So far, when you press it down,
Mhm.
depending on the situation, it's free. It just presses. Other times it kind of grinds a little bit and it makes it harder to push down.
Oh, okay.
So I don't really know if there's actually a full stop because I feel like they'd be afraid someone would go to do that and just snap it off.
Yeah, that's true.
So I'm not really sure if there's a full stop. There might be, but maybe like if a gun jams or something in Call of Duty or
yeah, like I was kind of
something like that, like Gears. Well, I guess not Gears of War, but something like that where they have like a gun jam mechanic. But I don't know if it's going to be full stop because it feels like somebody might take it to that edge and just snap it right off.
But yeah, that would be interesting. Like to build off of what you were saying, like if it does do a trigger stop, you could do like fire, and then fire, and then Viagra. You can go Viagra all the way down.
Viagra.
If you go real
That's
hard,
a whole
with
nother
it, you can
podcast.
go
If your spell lasts longer
I
than 4
can't
hours,
talk.
call a doctor.
I cannot talk this evening. But we're gonna go full Viagra.
There we go.
All right, anyways, but you could do that. Like you could do different yes, you could do different ranges of fire spells with the adaptive triggers. That's really cool. I like that. Osby, you have anything any ideas to take advantage of the adaptive triggers?
I'm still trying to think about how hard it would be to have some fiery Viagra. So I don't
If
know.
you go real hard with it, if you press down real hard.
No, the adaptive triggers, it's a really interesting concept. I can't wait to experience it with Final Fantasy XVI or just in general with the PS5. And you had mentioned not only the strength of the spell, but maybe how far you cast the spell based on how hard you push down the adaptive trigger itself. So not having experienced it myself, using the actual controller, it's hard to speak on the capabilities of it because I just don't know. It's really interesting, like new possibilities. Kind of like with another game that's coming out eventually that's probably going to be another podcast. But hey, that's not what we're here to talk about. Let's talk about these triggers, baby. Let's do it.
Yeah, I mean, all right. Osby, do you have, or Vinny, do you have any like wants or wishes?
The only, like when you guys are talking about that, now I don't have the controller and I haven't felt the resistance behind it, so I don't know if this is viable or not, but I'm thinking more like a QTE aspect, where you have maybe not a cutscene or something, but you're pushing, there's like a struggle, or you're trying to push open a door, a really heavy door or something, and that button is just like, does it have that capability of trying to push your finger back up? Like, you know how QTEs where you're like mashing X to try and, either fill a meter or just you're in a struggle. Like I'm not sure because I don't have those controllers in my hand, but something along those lines, making it just a little bit more challenging.
I mean, that would be a really cool idea, but yeah, it does. Like, it would have that feature. Like, say if you're pushing a door open, you really have to like squeeze those triggers to do it.
Yeah, like,
it's just an extra layer that they could add to the immersion of the game for sure.
Yeah, and I mean, most developers really haven't been too afraid of people breaking their stuff, because that just means more money for them. I mean, you break a controller, you gotta buy another controller. The Wii had people breaking TV. I don't think they really care or think too far ahead on that. Me personally, I mean, maybe they do care, but to me, there's somebody, in some office by himself saying like, "Oh, we're gonna make a killing on controllers."
That adaptive rage quit.
Yeah.
So pardon the pun here, but how do you feel about haptic feedback in Final Fantasy 16? What would be an example that would you? I cannot talk, guys. I'm so sorry. What would be an example that you would like to see in Final Fantasy 16 that involves haptic feedback?
So I think if we're looking at cutscenes, I think something like Titan being summoned and you feel the rumble of the ground. Or like if you're in a fight, like let's say during that scene with the Dragoon, we feel that anytime, like let's say we take a hit or whatever, there's like the feeling of that spear hitting the character, or if you're using a shield or anything like that, or even when you're attacking, like if you attack somebody that's got a shield, you can, as soon as that blade hits, you feel it in the controller.
Feel it go from top to the controller to the bottom of the controller, kind of like a sweeping motion.
Yeah, I think that would be kind of cool to see in 16.
That would be really cool. I love the idea of haptic feedback. It's something that I literally cannot wait to get my hands on. And like, just like Astro's Playroom uses the idea, Astro's Playroom uses the idea of walking on surfaces gives you a different vibration at the bottom of the controller. Just really simple implementations in Final Fantasy 16 that can really take advantage of these haptic feedbacks. Another example would be like if you got hit with a fire spell, like, and if you felt like the fluttery vibrations of you're on fire type thing, that would be really cool too. You block with your left and you feel the vibrations on the left. You attack and you feel the vibration on the right of the controller. These are really cool ideas that just take advantage of haptic feedback that only PlayStation 5 can provide. And the fact that this game is exclusive to PlayStation 5 for the time being, you have to think that they're going to take advantage of these features. You know what I mean? Like they're going to take advantage of adaptive triggers and haptic feedback. And
well, and
really cool
it's 3D audio is another thing too. Like, you know, if you're let's say you're in a scene where there's like this big battle going on around you, and like maybe it's a quick time event, and to be able to know what's going on, like you're hearing battle sounds, but then, and the PS4 does this a little bit. I don't know about Xbox, but the PS4 does this a little bit where it's like directional hearing, like footsteps or like yelling or anything, or in a certain area, like your right or your left ear, it plays. But like also capturing the ambience of the battle while also having to pay attention to where someone is around you, like an enemy or whatever. I think that would be kind of cool.
Yeah.
I feel like we are like a generation of console away from like just hooking up a car battery to our nipples, and every time you get hit, we're just shocked.
One console generation away, man.
Wait, we have to be a console generation away to do that?
No, mid-cycle upgrade. Let's go.
Okay.
PS5 Pro.
I'm pretty sure. I've only known Osby for like 5 minutes, but I'm pretty sure he already does that.
I would tell you that I plead the fifth, but he's right.
Yeah,
he's right.
I don't know what's better though, that or getting shocked at physical therapy. That's another story.
Heard that.
PS5 mid-gen upgrade, PS5 Pro, you get the shock therapy going on.
Pain stimuli update.
Now,
how's that for haptic feedback?
How's that?
See,
I think what would be a really cool, like, little upgrade to the PS5 controller. I know that we just got it, and this is just kind of like, come on, man, just be happy with what you got. Like if they add tension to the controller thumbsticks, like how you can adjust the tension on the Elite controller on the Xbox. What if the controller did it for you? So like if you're, I don't know, steering your car or something, and you're going into the grass, it feels a lot different. That would be really cool. But I mean, hey, that's future. We got the dual sensor.
There'd be another bunch of snapped controllers.
Oh yeah.
They'd break that thumbstick right off.
Now you got ray tracing built in to the PlayStation 5's hardware. Now that could make a dramatic difference in itself. Now if you take that trailer for Final Fantasy 16 and just turn on, I mean, I know it's not a flip of the switch, but if you turn on ray tracing on that, and everybody was kind of complaining about the graphics a little bit, just adding ray tracing to that game would just make such a huge difference.
So I actually want to encourage anybody listening, watching, whatever, and even you guys, whenever you get a PS5, watch the trailer on the PlayStation Store on the PS5. It's not going to seem like, oh, it's the same trailer. It's not going to look much different. I think it looks a lot crisper. Like, in all honesty, on the PlayStation 5, like seeing it directly played from there, it looks really good.
Okay. Like played from the store, like from the PlayStation 5 store?
There's a coming soon tab, and it's got all the games that were announced at the PS5 event. It's got them all there with the trailers that were shown there. And if you watch the 16 one, it actually looks better on the PS5 than it did on the stream.
Okay, that's good. Good to know. I think with YouTube, you do get that loss of quality.
Oh yeah, the compression is terrible.
Yeah, so you might be onto something there. I'll definitely be sure to check it out on the PlayStation Store. I personally, I didn't have any problems with it. I think the game's going to run smooth, and it looks great from the gameplay.
Well, even Yoshi P was like, he wasn't happy with the graphics.
Yeah, he's like, it's an early build. I mean, it's an early build.
He wanted to show everybody that the game wasn't going to be coming out in 2035. Like, he even made that joke. He's like, I've heard all the jokes from America about 2035, but he even said, like, I'm not happy with the way the game looks in that trailer. He did say, however, that he is happy with the progress being made on the game. And he said that in 2021, we will be receiving a reveal that will blow that trailer out of the water. So I have no doubts this game is going to look amazing. I'm not going to take a knee-jerk reaction to how it looked initially, because Yoshi P has done fantastic work with 14, and I think he has earned the right to have the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah, I agree 100%, man.
There's a disclaimer, though, at the beginning of that trailer, like a little subtitle disclaimer at the bottom. It either says PS4 Pro or captured on PC to
PC.
Yeah. So I mean, with that alone, I'm not really worried about the way it looks. It's gonna be so polished and so crisp and so good looking that you're just, I can't.
People need to stop looking at graphics in the general sense and look at art style.
Oh my god, dude.
Because if you think about it, let's look at Remake. Remake, the character models look phenomenal. First couple chapters and the last couple chapters, the backgrounds and the graphics look amazing. They're realistic. But when you get to the inside of the game where you spend most of your time, the backgrounds really aren't that great, because they tried to go for hyper realistic character models on top of slightly poor textures, and it kind of, there's a little bit of a gap there. It's very noticeable. But with games like Persona 5, where the art style is very pleasing to the eyes, everything matches the character models as well, it all flows together in a nice little form. Whereas like 16's art style matches the world that it's set in. Even if you don't think the character models look the greatest or the world looks the greatest, they're consistent with each other. There's no gap in quality of either one. So I think that's going to make that game last longer than something that tries to go for super hyper realistic character models.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think necessarily the game itself is looking bad at all. In fact, it's going to run extremely smooth, which is going to be really important in a game like this with the high pace action that it's got going on. I completely agree with you, man. The art style, especially when they showed the concept art for the cities that you're going to be going to.
Oh yeah. It's
just, I'm already wanting to be in this world, and you know what I mean? Like, I already want to explore it.
It reminds me of Evilise.
Yeah.
It does.
From 12 Tactics and
Tactics.
Story.
It's got that. It's definitely got that Evilise Tactics vibe, especially even in the character art. That looks like it could be something ripped straight from Tactics booklet.
I think it might actually be the same guy, if I remember right. I think it's Akihiko Yoshida.
Is he the same? He's the same guy that did the key art. Am I right about that? Or who's the guy that did the key art?
Are you talking about the logo?
The key art. No, not Yoshitaka Amano, but like the key art.
Oh, that was Takahashi was his name.
I am like, that key art is some of the best Final Fantasy key art I've ever seen.
Yeah, it is insanely good.
God. Oh man, so And then also I want to, while we're on the topic of 16, just for a second, I want to talk about how I love the main character, Clive. I think that is, he looks more mature. Obviously the game is going for that rated M rating there, but I think he looks more mature than any other Final Fantasy character that we've really gotten before.
He seems grizzled, like he's been through some shit, you know?
And let's just point out the obvious. Is he like the very first Final Fantasy main character that has a little bit of a beard? I mean, come on, guys. He's got a little bit of a goatee going on.
Noctis, kind of?
Yeah.
Not till he was
Yeah,
older.
Yeah. Which even, because I love Noctis, when King Noctis is...
Old grizzled Noctis is his own.
Yeah, that's his... Yeah. I love
Perfect.
that, dude. I love that. That game is another topic for me. I just love that game.
I think older Clive is better than younger Clive, but I like both.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely 100%. But I love the idea that younger Clive looks like more of a teenager. You got your typical Final Fantasy character guy, and you can tell he's seen stuff. You know what I mean? He's seen some stuff, and and you can tell by the character design. And I just love the character design of Clive. And I was happy to find out that we play as the older Clive for a majority of the game, from my understanding.
See, what I really love about older Clive is, like, at the end of the trailer when they showed the two faces, like young Clive, old Clive, which a lot of people argued with me that they weren't the same person, but later found out that they were. I thought it was funny because, like, I looked at young Clive and I'm like, knowing what we can see from the trailer, I'm like, this guy is not going to look that way for, like, he's going to see some stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then you see older Clive, and, like, even in the eyes and the way, like, his eye and facial structure is, you can just see the stress of what he's been through already. And then, like, the line is something to the effect of, I'll kill you if it's the last thing I do. And you see, like, the anger and the pain in Clive's face as the flames come around him, and then it goes into the logo. And I love that characterization already, and it's only the first reveal trailer.
Yeah. He's seen some shit.
Yeah.
He's seen some shit.
Since Daniel brought up that speculated M rating, I love Dark Souls, and do you think that Final Fantasy would benefit from, like, a Witcher, Dark Souls, dark and dreary feel to it? Like, a lot of the previous installments, they've always felt so a lot of them felt upbeat, very bright and vibrant, but something about Dark Souls, just that dark and dreary feel, I feel like would fit Final Fantasy so well, at least for one installment.
So I want to say that, yes, I do think that it would benefit greatly, because some of the most powerful stories that we've had, like Tactics and Type O, and I don't know if any of you play 14, but Heavensward, like, there are some funny moments, but they're not as prevalent as, like, something like Final Fantasy VII, where there were a lot of funny moments and stuff like that, and a lot of things were, like, Gold Saucer is very lighthearted, and the Chocobo Racing's lighthearted, and stuff like that. I think Final Fantasy would definitely benefit from having a darker story, because they've pulled it off before and it worked well. One of my favorite writers of all time, Yasumi Matsuno, who wrote Tactics, 12, and Vagrant Story, he's about showing how these fantasy characters would react to what real life people would react to when it comes to war and loss and pain and all these dark themes. And I think that's where, like, a lot of the inspiration for 16 is even coming from, because Kazutoyo Mihiro, the writer for Heavensward, is working on 16. And so I think that his writing style, which is very similar to Matsuno, which is who I thought was writing the game to begin with, I think his style is really going to accent that dark theme that they're going for, and I think it would really work well.
Yeah, I mean, I would love to see it. I've been really hoping for a rated M Final Fantasy, and I really, truly, honestly think we should have got a rated M Final Fantasy VII remake.
Agreed.
because that game
Yeah.
that game is rated M, and in so many ways the original is rated M. But now that we're getting it with 16, I'm just really excited. And I think with that being said about 7, how that game, the original game, is very mature. And like you said, Alex, it does have these very lighthearted moments. And I think that would be, for me personally, I would like to see it. I'd like to see them still kind of throw in these lighthearted moments within, and like I think we even saw it in one of the character bios, where he's like won't eat. What did he say? Like won't even look at.
He doesn't like carrots.
Doesn't like carrots, but you know what I mean. So you can
see that's Mayhero to a T. Like if you've ever played Heavensward, you can already see Mayhero's influence on 16.
Yeah, you can kind of already see that. Like, yeah, there's going to be these lighthearted comic relief moments, I think. And I think that would be important, whether it be a party member, which is another discussion that we'll bring up, whether it's a party member that comes into play that's more of a lighthearted party member. I don't know, Kate C.
No, keep him away from 16, please.
Someone like that along those ways where they're just more like a comic relief person. I think it would be fine. But I am ready. I'm ready to dive into just a really mature Witcher style Final Fantasy. I am.
I actually wouldn't mind I'm gonna catch heat for this, but I actually wouldn't mind a darker love story.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't mean where it's like super present. So like, have you guys played Ghost of Tsushima yet?
Yes.
I have not.
Love the game.
Okay, so I won't say names or any spoilers, but basically there's like, and you two will know, there's a character in there that Jin gets really not necessarily romantically involved with, but you can tell there's some kind of tension between them. And it's never really fully explored. But I feel like a story like that, where it's kind of like a bond is built through their circumstances. Mm-hmm. And even if they don't fully explore that, I think it would be cool to see that, yes, Clive is on this revenge plot. Yes, he's lost everything. His whole life is in shambles. But maybe he finds comfort in somebody that he meets along the way who has also suffered through those things. And not necessarily as like a cheesy way, like I think Final Fantasy VIII tried to go for, where it was young love. I think this is more of like a love that forms from extreme hardship and the willingness to support each other through that hardship. Whether it's like a super romantic involvement, like Yen and Geralt from The Witcher, or if it's more of like a Jin and that other character's relationship where it's not fully explored. I think it could be cool to add that in as like a subplot kind of thing.
I would love it. That reminds me, if we're going to stick with, I guess, if you're going to compare it to a Final Fantasy, it kind of gives me that Titus and Yuna vibe a little bit, where circumstances are what brings them together.
I feel like it's more of a Titus and Riku vibe. How like there's something between those two, but it's never really explored because Yuna's kind of, in the way. But I mean, Riku has expressed interest in Titus. She told Titus, when she asks you what's your type, and if you say Lulu, she says like, oh, give me a few more years or whatever. Like there's something there. It's just never explored. And that captivated me more than Titus and Yuna, because I was just like, that was, younger me. It's like, oh, that girl's interested in Titus and he's not like showing her any attention, but it was kind of like a weird love triangle, but with like maybe like an obtuse triangle.
Yeah, just not as pronounced.
Yeah.
I feel what you're saying.
Obtuse triangle, love it.
Yeah, it's not like is it Rosa and Cecil from 4, where they kind of have like they're together. Mm-hmm. I think it'd be cool, like I said, to just be kind of, it's there but not super explored, and maybe there's like optional scenes that you could get with that character.
Something unwritten, like they never actually like shove it in your face, but you're just like, that they're probably a thing.
Well, and think about it. So we've got a female character that's super important to the story that we don't know anything about, other than that she is a ward of Rosaria, basically. Mm-hmm. Yes, she is technically raised as Clive's sister, but they all know she's adopted. Like they all know this, right? Yeah. Mm-hmm. So like maybe after the time skip, she's 20 something, whatever. You know,
It's not that big
I
of
mean,
an
I
age gap. It's really not that big of an age
yeah,
gap.
they're like, I think, what was it? Josh was 11 and Clive's 15 when the game starts.
Yeah,
And
it's not that
Clive and Joshua and what's her name and Jill are like, I'd say the same age. So I don't know if like his whole life falls apart, she gets taken somewhere, and then boom, they meet up again, blah blah blah. Or if they would just think that was too weird because they were related. I don't know.
Yeah, she was raised in the house, but I mean, I wouldn't say it was too far fetched. I mean, they both were assuming our dominance. We're assuming that Jill is the dominant for Shiva, at least based
I
off
would
of,
almost be willing to bet money. She
yeah.
is.
How there goes your fire and ice. You know what I mean? Whereas Clive represents fire, she represents ice. You get the fire and ice.
Game of
A
Thrones.
song of ice.
Winter
and
is coming,
fire.
baby.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So you go very Game of Thrones with that one, but still, I mean, I don't think that's far fetched to say. But I do love your idea of a more mature romance, making the love story more of a, it's alluded to rather than in your face. I do like that. Would you be open to the option of like character choice, like romance options, like as in?
So romance options in a Final Fantasy game would be
Yeah.
weird to me, I think, because I feel like a lot of the options would be like, have I built with this character? Or I think a natural flowing relationship is better, just because if you look at like Mass Effect, you have to do so much work to get a certain character to want to be with you. Like you have to do the specific scenes, you have to do this, you have to do like, maybe you have to get an item, or you have to answer certain questions right or whatever. I feel like a more naturally flowing relationship would probably be better for like a focused story. Cause I don't know, sometimes like 15 tended to, like with its open world and stuff, go off the rails a little bit with the story. And then you would have to come back to the main story. So I feel like making a relationship in those games needs to be focused instead of more optional, I guess.
Yeah, something focused too, where it always ends up the same way at the end, but along the way, oh, maybe this date or specific scene changes based on what you've done. But
Yeah.
at the end, it always happens. Like, hey, maybe you end up in a Ferris wheel with Barrett. I mean,
Right.
there's all kinds of things that could happen along the way, but there's always the ultimate, well, this is how it ends.
Or even just if you're gonna make it optional, make it the same character being optional. So like maybe you did a chapter a certain way, and you gain affection points with that character. But if you don't gain those points, maybe this next scene will be different. Or like maybe it's a live or die situation. Like maybe if his affection points are super high, he does what it takes to save her. If not, maybe she sacrifices herself and boom, done. Like
that would be really cool. Yeah, I'd like that.
If you're going to make it optional, at least keep it to the same character.
And then I think it's also important, especially one of my favorite things about Final Fantasy is that these main characters are the same for everybody. Like, so if you love one character, you love them for the same reasons that everybody else does. If you go with this more character choice thing, my Clive is going to be a lot different than your Clive. And it's like, well, I love Clive as my favorite Final Fantasy character, but I might hate your version of Clive. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Then
go
yeah.
ahead.
That feels too like Fable like to me, like good Clive or bad Clive, like choices and all that stuff. Like I want like a definitive main character, or else I'd go play Fable.
I agree. I like that.
I do, however, think though, touching on that, I think if you made choices that were a little bit different, even if like you came to the same resolution, I think, like, let's say you have an option to kill somebody or let them live. Like maybe Clive would be like, okay, I'm going to kill this guy because he could come back later to haunt me. But as the player, you're thinking, well, maybe I should let him live. He didn't really do anything to me or whatever. Maybe choices like that, where maybe not necessarily like a Paragon thing like you have in Mass Effect, but just like personal choice. Like, what would you think Clive would do in that situation, or what would you do in that situation?
I like that. Yeah,
that
just
that
enough
fits.
character choice. Yeah, just enough character choice that you get to feel like you're playing as
Like you're
Clive.
in control.
Yeah,
Kind of
like
like
as in control.
Owaka in 10,
Mhm.
where you can choose to donate to him. And if you do, later on, you get really good discounts on really good weapons and items and stuff. But if you don't, then you're still paying his prices. And maybe something like that, where like you run into a shop owner or,
Yeah, for sure.
options
Like-
like that, I think would be cool.
Like the guy that you, instead of killing him, the guy you let live, later on in the game, he, you cross paths again, and he gives you some end game item or
Yeah,
something
exactly.
that you
Kind of
would
like
miss.
the Zodiac Spear from 12.
Mm-hmm.
How certain choices that you made, like picking up certain chests, gave you the ultimate weapon in the game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Replayability too.
Yeah, exactly.
So when you get Unreal Engine 5, I did leave off on that where you get the ray tracing and stuff like that. I do think it would make a big difference to just an already amazing looking game. But here's where it gets really exciting. If it does kind of go off of the Unreal Engine 5, or if Luminous Engine does pick up these capabilities, where you have the Lumen capabilities of Unreal Engine 5, which is a fully dynamic global illumination solution. I'm sure everybody here has seen the Unreal 5 tech demo, whereas light will change during the time of change angles during the time of day. Turning on a flashlight would make a big difference. Fire magic. And just like when a hole blows in the ceiling, light will flow through and stuff like that. How would you feel about dynamic environments that are destructible in Final Fantasy 16? Like if you're going to be able to take advantage of the PS5 and its hardware capabilities, and especially, I mean, I don't want to go back to the graphics of 16, but I mean, it does look like it would be very capable of having destructible environments. It's not so heavily focused on these super high renders where everything has to be in place. And it would really go along with that mature theme. What do you think about that, man? What do you think about dynamic environments that are destructible, day and night cycles and stuff like that?
So I think it'd be cool to have day and night cycles. I don't know so much about destructible environments, because like how destructible could they get?
Mhm.
And here's another thing I haven't really talked about too much, but are we going to control a summon at some point?
You know
How
what?
d- How, like, let's say for instance, we can summon Titan
Mhm.
and we get to control Titan. Kind of like, have you guys played Aegis Rim yet? Where you
Mhm.
control like the big mechs and stuff like
Yeah.
that. Maybe kind of like that, where not specifically, but you've got this big thing and you're like going through kingdoms or whatever, and maybe you can smash environments with Titan. And then when you get done with summoning Titan, you see the aftermath as Clive. Destructible environments are kind of hard in an RPG because it's like you're destroying what the creator made.
Yeah, I mean, like,
so
I guess, let's say focused.
Would those destructed environments stay destructed, or would they, after the fight, come back? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. I would say like focused destruction. So whereas like say if you slung a fireball, and it hit a statue and the statue just like just destroys or something.
Okay.
Like the kind of destructible environment type thing. But man, what you just said kind of got me thinking about if you can like control an icon, and your Phoenix is kind of your house icon. I know that Clive is not the dominant, but if he becomes the dominant, and that's your airship at the end, like your airship, like you can fly around as Phoenix and go from different places in the open world.
That would be, yeah, and the open world, the map. How amazing is that map?
The map is I love it. I love it.
That thing is huge.
It is. Now that takes me to my other question, which I have my opinion on it, but I'd like to hear what you think. I mean, open world, do you think that's even a thing? With the PlayStation 5, it would be possible to load in that much data, and PlayStation 5 and next gen is capable of having even larger open worlds than we've ever seen before.
So the problem I have with open world is that it's very hard to make a focused open world game, and very few pull it off. If you look at 15's open world felt very dry, felt very empty. And you had like these specific spots, and then you'd like run through the grass and you'd get hit by the Imperials or whatever as they'd come. But really the map of 15 didn't have a super amount of stuff to do. It was basically you got your missions from towns, you finished your missions out in the wild, then you came back to your town. Didn't really have a whole lot. So I think honestly what they're going to do is go with zones. Kind of like 12 and 14, where you have these wide open expansive zones, and then it will transition into the next area. And I think even if you wanted to, the load times on those would be very fast, right? So even if you did zones, you wouldn't necessarily have to have it super open world like 15. You could have, okay, I'm going to be in this zone. Like, let's say we're in Rosaria, but we're trying to get to Dalmec or whatever it's called. In 12, they had this thing where like you traveled, but each zone was like super far away from the other one. So it looked on the map like you went this great distance, but really to us, the player, we didn't go that far. So it seems to me like I feel like zones would be more beneficial on the PlayStation 5 than actual open world is, because then they have to completely render the entire map. And that's including dungeons, everything. Yeah. So like if you look at Miles Morales on PS5 and even PlayStation 4 Spider-Man, that open world is restricted to the island that you're on, or well, New York, I guess. But I think you're on Manhattan the whole time. Yeah. You're restricted to that. Now, if you take that and you times it by however big 16's map is, you're leaving a lot of open space and you're going to have to pack that full of stuff, or you're going to be walking for 30 minutes before you get to anything. Yeah. So I feel like zones would probably be more beneficial than open world here.
The zones would keep you focused too.
Yeah, that too. And like, like let's say it says you need to go to this area. You're not constantly looking around for something that might be 7 screens over. It tells you need to go to the desert in such and such place. Well, then that's the zone you go to, as opposed to like open world where it looks like the map has 5 or 6 deserts and you have to figure out which desert you got to go to. Like they could put quest markers, but at the same time, it kind of feels like it's holding your hand a little bit too much when you do just constant quest markers. Yeah.
I like the idea of zones. For me personally, though, I would rather have a open world that is segmented. So we go back to earlier Final Fantasies. We go back to like, I don't know, Final Fantasy 1, these earlier Final Fantasy, even 7. Whereas when you come out into the open world, you obviously can't explore the entire open world. There's mountains or something that's blocking you, and you need to be able to get a different mode of transportation to get across. I think if they did that, they would keep it focused. And then if we're going to go back to that insane idea that you had, if we can turn into an icon and turn into Phoenix as that our final mode of transportation and literally just fly around and look at everything that you've explored, it gives you that sense of exploration that you got from the original Final Fantasies that really relied on this transportation that's kind of gone away. I mean, Final Fantasy 15 had the car. Later, it upgrades to an airship type thing. But 15, to your point, did open up to this open world that wasn't segmented. You could just go, you know what I mean? Like besides Altisha and then eventually over to Niflheim. But yeah, it was just, here's your open world, go for it. And if you think along the lines of Witcher, and I know CD Projekt Red is just an insanely talented group of developers. They had kingdoms. They had this massive open world, lots of different nooks and crannies that you can explore. And if you can replicate that into a Final Fantasy 16, I think it would be great. I think it would recapture that feeling. Like you go through Rosaria for the first couple hours of the game, which is a beautiful city in itself. And then you go out into the open world and you're like, oh my God, I can explore this entire open world. I think Rosaria and all the other cities will be zoned. I don't think you'll be able to explore that entire city because let's be honest, some of those concept art just looks like that looks like a game in itself. You know what I mean? Like that's insane. And if those cities are that big, it makes me think like that world is huge.
Well, think of Rabanastre from 12.
Yeah.
That's what I picture the cities and towns being like in 16. Is probably closer to like Rabanastre, where like you see the big city, but really you don't explore that much of it. But it does feel like you do.
Yeah, something along those lines for sure when it comes to the cities. But yeah, I mean, I would love to see an open world Final Fantasy where the focus kind of comes back to these airships and chocobos and transportation. I think that would be really cool. How they would pull it off, man.
Well, and see, that's I think what a lot has been like the charm of old school Final Fantasy has been lost in more modern times, is that in the old ones they had that veiled open world like you were talking about, where you had to have certain requirements to get to certain areas or story progress to get there. I feel like modern Final Fantasy just hasn't had that type of veiled open world that we had in the old school days. And if they did that, I'd be down for that 100%. I think that'd be really cool to see a modernized Final Fantasy with elements from the old school games like that.
Now, I want to bring it up just for anybody watching, so that way we can talk and look at this at the same time, because I'm sure everybody's seen it. But let's go to that world real quick so everybody can see this world real quick. Let me go to, I believe this is the right one.
I believe in you.
I believe in a thing called love.
I was about ready to say that.
Are you seeing this one? The world?
Yes.
Okay.
World.
And we're not actually making a JoJo reference.
I know you want to sing it, man. Just go for it. Here it is, guys. The realms of Valisthea. That's what I call it.
And that's just a small part of it.
This is it, dude. Look at that. So you have, this is, man, there's a better way to do this. I know it. Let's see. Opens it up. There you go. Is that more? Do you guys see the whole thing?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
my.
Okay. Look at that map, man. So I think Rosaria it's on a cliffside. Was that over here? Was this Rosaria?
No, it's over on the left by the small volcano.
Okay. All right. Well, so you got look at this big open. There's no way they're doing open world. After looking at it, I don't know, man.
It even kind of looks like it's, if you look at the lines, some of them look like they've separated into zones.
Oh yeah. You got their your little continents and stuff, or countries and stuff. That's kind of cool. I didn't really notice that either.
I did.
Yeah, man, this is going to be insane to travel. I love this map just because it gives me the vibes of an old school Final Fantasy.
It looks like Final Fantasy XII's world map and tactics.
Mm-hmm. So there you have it. I just wanted to bring it up so everybody can see it. Yeah. So looking at this map really does seem like, man, they gotta go zoned. They gotta go zoned.
Yeah, it just doesn't seem like they could. I don't know how they could pull that off and still, you know what I mean? Like, it seems like it would be a lot of empty space.
Agreed.
Or $120 game.
Yeah, no shit. Yeah.
No, they're
Base game.
They're saying this is going to be a complete Final Fantasy story. You know,
Part
what I mean?
one.
I don't think we're getting a part one. I think this is a complete story. If I'm
God, I hope so. Oh man,
I hated that. Like when they said that about 15, they were like, "Oh yeah, this might be the future of the series." Do you remember them saying that?
Yeah, it was like it's supposed to be a 3-part game, and then they had to condense it into one.
Mm-hmm. They were like, "Oh, this is the future of the series, where you tell the focus story and then just build off of it with DLC and stuff."
Which is funny because that's super anti Hironobu Sakaguchi's theory on game development. Like I think that's a lot of the tension that caused him to leave Square, was that we've got to make sequels thing.
Mm-hmm. We just want to tell this. Like, you want to tell the full story, you know. If it takes a long time to make it, just tell the story. I love 15 for different reasons. I loved actually that it was a focus story. I enjoyed the journey of Noctis, even though the lore of that game is just insane. There's so much to dive into that game that they could have made one of the best Final Fantasies ever made. You know, if you really got into it. But I do really enjoy Noctis's story. Okay, let's go. Let me move on to our Yeah, the future of Final Fantasy games. I think we talked about 16 and we were talking about open worlds and how that would probably be pretty impossible judging on that map. Future of Final Fantasy games like 17 and beyond. Would you want to see a gigantic open world? I think you've kind of already touched on that, Alex. You were just like, nah, it's got to be a more condensed storytelling.
Yeah, if they could pull it off the way games like The Witcher 3 does, I would have no problem with it. But I feel like, and this is not a knock on Square's game design as a whole, I feel like Square is best when it has, like we talked about earlier, that veiled open world style where it starts out, it's all story progress until you get to a certain point. Because I feel like also open world has a tendency to take away from the main story, because I found this a lot with Dragon Ball Z Kakarot. That game it's zones, but it also is very massively open in those zones. And the problem I had with that game was that, so like you'd be getting ready to fight Vegeta, and then 15 side quests would pop up. And we're talking like the world is about to end, right? Like in the context of the story, the world is about to end. Vegeta's about to blow shit up. Like,
And
whatever. But the game wants me to fight the same 400 Red Ribbon Army robots that I fought 20 minutes ago for a side quest, so I can get a special item that I can go and use in the Vegeta fight that will give me like a boost in health or something. Like, obviously those quests are optional, but how many of us look at optional quests and like, nah, I'm good?
No, you have to do them.
You want to do them because they might,
yeah,
even though, because a lot of open world games have branching quest lines. So you're like, well, I want to finish this so I can get this ultimate weapon or this ultimate item. But if you do that, then you just spent 4 hours doing side quests and Vegeta's still standing there. So like, it's like a pacing issue. It's like a story issue. It's like, it's hard to do open world and still keep it relative into the story. Whereas like, I think Witcher 3 helps build the atmosphere of, these are Geralt's adventures. You're living through his adventures. Whereas side quests in Final Fantasy games where they've been open have also felt like not attached to the narrative, not attached to what that character is or does.
Agreed. You guys have any thoughts on future Final Fantasy wish list?
So I brought this up to you guys in chat, but I'm interested to see how Alex will receive this. But I was thinking, maybe in future Final Fantasy installments you have 2 storylines. You have, your canonical, you're the hero and you're playing through and everything. And then you also have where you have the darker or evil storyline where you don't play as like the final boss, but you play as his like right-hand man. And, the stories are always crossing. And when I thought of that, I thought of, I'm going to refer back to this again, but Dark Souls, a multiplayer aspect I felt that Final Fantasy could take from Dark Souls. And you have somebody playing down the good path and somebody playing down the bad path. And every time in whatever biome they're in, whenever they're supposed to meet each other in the story, you have the person playing the bad storyline invade the person playing the good storyline, and you kind of have like a PvP style, not like boss fight, maybe boss fight, mini boss fight or whatever. And I think Dark Souls does that pretty well. If you don't have online capabilities, it's just an NPC that invades you. And if you lose, you just go back to your previous save. And then, if you lose too many times, let's say you're not good at PvP, you could either turn that option off, or if you lose too many times, then you just forcibly get invaded by the NPC that you'll probably end up beating, just so that there's no like PvP wall that people can't get through, like in the original Demon Souls. But like, I thought maybe that aspect, because I think Final Fantasy, obviously 11 and 14 is multiplayer because it's an MMO, but these mainline ones I feel can benefit from that small multiplayer aspect, where there's that risk of getting invaded. That was my favorite part of Dark Souls, was like, I just fought a whole bunch of enemies and I have like no more healing, and now somebody just invaded me, and I know if I had healing I could kick their butt, but they just caught me off guard. I just like that aspect, and being able to see Final Fantasy through the the other side. Like, you always play as the hero, but then you get to also see what's going on behind the scenes for the evil guys. Like, why are they doing what they're doing? What are they going through? Like, what are they doing while you're doing all the good stuff? So that's just my 2 cents.
So I actually, not necessarily maybe in that form, but episode Arden for 15 did a really good job of putting you in the shoes of the villain and showing you what it was like for him, as opposed to what it was like for Noctis's descendants, and then him coming to the modern day. I do like that aspect of it. I think that's kind of a cool way to do it. To touch on your point, though, I do think that it would be cool if you played as who you thought was the hero. Kind of like, what's the game I'm trying to think of? You play as the hero, and then it turns out basically the whole time that you were the villain.
Mm-hmm.
And you just
Breed.
Yeah, maybe that. Yeah, that might be the
side
game.
scroller.
Yeah. You play that whole game thinking that you're like this hero saving the day and whatever, but it turns out you're actually the villain. And the reason the princess is running from you is because you are the villain. You're not the savior. And so I think that kind of concept might be cool, because like we're so used to the convention of main character good, side character bad. Like, I think maybe challenging that convention would be kind of cool. I don't know if necessarily a PvP option would be widely accepted, but I think reversing those roles would be cool.
Yeah.
And you're right. If you could turn it off, I think it could be an option. But I definitely think reversing the roles could be really cool if implemented properly.
Final Fantasy 16 rated M.
Wouldn't
Very
that be
dark character.
Wouldn't that be a twist though, if it turns out good old Clive is the villain?
Right, exactly. Yeah. Like with this dark storyline, it's rated M. It's got all the makings of like Clive. He's on this path to revenge, and then you just kind of go a little too much into it. That would be really cool.
I think honestly, if we're really being honest about the story of 16, I think we're gonna have moments where we question Clive's heroicness. If you get what I'm saying. Like, I think there are going to be moments in that story where he does something, or maybe a series of things that you find maybe unforgivable for a standard hero, but he feels he has to do because of his revenge plot. Like, how many times have you heard like revenge plots, but the character kind of still has these emotions towards other characters if he trusts them or whatever? Like, maybe Clive just does not trust anybody, and he makes these series of choices that maybe not necessarily the player makes, but Clive makes. And you're like, is what I'm doing right? Am I the hero, or am I just a brute, a bully trying to get what I want? It's not about the world and what's best for it. It's what's best for me and what's happened to me. And I think that, I always say the hardest thing to do is tell a realistic story in a fantasy setting, because you always expect certain conventions to come true in fantasy settings. There's always a hero. There's always a villain. There's always, in fantasy settings, there's always some kind of power or ability or something like that. Maybe Clive is just a dick, and he just, maybe Clive is not the hero of this story. He is just the main character.
Yeah, I mean, and it could be a Last of Us 2 scenario, where they're giving you that moral ambiguity. Yeah. Are you really the good guy? Are you really the bad guy? Is the villain who you end up playing as in chapter 4?
I don't think Alex has played Last of Us. We don't get any spoilers.
I know. I already know.
Okay.
I'm saying, what, like, if the roles reversed and there's no straight just path of, this is the right thing to do. If you don't know, and it doesn't, it'd be very interesting. But what I would like to see in future Final Fantasy games is not so much the storytelling aspect or who you play as, but how you play. Give me Final Fantasy in VR. Just do it.
Oh,
Give me Final Fantasy in VR. It doesn't have to be multiplayer. We don't have to have a Sword Art Online shenanigans thing. Just give me a single player game, PSVR. It doesn't even have to be PlayStation, but VR with the adaptive triggers in the motion controls. Give me that. That's
15,
the experience.
15 had a little bit of it.
Yeah, but I mean, like, give me the
Efficient.
full experience of that, and I'm set. I don't care if I'm a prince trying to get my revenge. I don't care if I'm Clive and possibly destroying everybody. I don't care if I'm conscript B just living in the whole story and it's happening around me. I don't care if I end up being okay, so I would care if I end up being Vaughn. Please don't do that to me. But seriously,
Zodiac Age DLC.
that's what I'm looking forward to. Having played PSVR, knowing that PSVR 2 is coming out, man, excited. Sorry, that kind of
like a
big old tangent there, but
no,
I did enough
love
to
it.
steal my question.
Yeah, Vinny brought it up in chat. But yeah, man, that would be really cool
love
to
you,
do
Vinny.
VR. But you like, because when you play, I don't know if you guys have played it, Vader Immortal, on the VR. When you get to wield a lightsaber and you get to do the force powers and stuff. Yeah,
I've heard that's pretty dope. I've heard that's pretty dope.
don't do it on PSVR though. If you got an Oculus Quest, that's the best way to do it. But anyways, yeah. So as VR evolves and as VR becomes more mainstream, and I think we can eventually see Final Fantasy merge into it. But man, that's a full-on Final Fantasy game on VR. That's a dream. I don't think.
I don't see Square Enix making that
Yeah.
effort, if I'm being honest.
Yeah,
I don't see that
probably.
happening.
Knowing Square, it would be like you said, with 15 you did some fishing, you maybe with 16 you can
or even just
look
give
at
me
the balcony of Rosaria and look at the city or something like that. And,
If I get to
would
stab
do.
a dragoon in VR, I will be stoked.
or even a first person mode, depending on the actual play style of
yeah.
16
I think
or
15 at it.
The first person mode, I think that was later added as an
Yeah.
update. Yeah,
15 had it in an update.
it was a little janky, but it was good. I mean, it was there.
I feel like they just tested a lot with 15. They were like, yeah, throwing a little VR, throwing a little first
Everybody
person.
hates it anyway. We'll just test it.
But it's the
Oh man,
beta
well,
test Final Fantasy.
I was going to go on to our Mad Libs portion here, but I would like to ask you one more question. I don't think we touched on it. Party members. What do you think, man? Do you think 16 is going to have I mean, we have all the makings of a party that we're going to have on 16. We have this huge world. We have multiple cities that you're going to meet people in. I feel like we're going to have a party, but what do you think?
So, and I've argued this with people a lot because I personally am in the mindset that I don't care either way.
Fair.
Yeah, I know multiple party members is like Final Fantasy. It's very RPG-ish, but games like Witcher 3 were considered one of the games of the generation, and it's a single player RPG. I don't think we are. I honestly think this might be our first look at mainlines possibly going single character, maybe even just for the century. But I think we're definitely going to see this be a single character party, because we saw in the trailer he's fighting this like goblin thing in a swamp area.
Mm-hmm.
And like in the background, you can see a character like coming up and trying to attack the goblin with Clive.
Mm-hmm.
But you don't see like they've just got rid of the heads up display. So you don't really see anything there. So that could be a party member. And with their emphasis on Remake of being able to switch through party members with a button press, it's possible. I almost don't see it happening because it seems like Clive is kind of a loner.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like Clive is kind of like Joel from the first Last of Us. He has his acquaintances, but he doesn't trust anybody.
Going back to the point you made about, could be
he's
could
been
be a really
through
dark
this.
story.
Yeah, it could be a really dark story where Clive is like, I don't trust anybody. And that's where I think Jill's going to come in too, is because later I think he'll meet up with Jill after the Titan Shiva fight, because in the trailer, the guy says something about it's Shiva's dominant. He's with those guys. They're obviously trying to get to her.
Mhm.
If he finds out that she is Jill, he might save her and take her with him. But I don't necessarily know if that means she's going to be a party member. Because let's face it, if she's a party member and can turn into Shiva, it's game over. Like, she'd just be able to kick everything's ass, right?
True.
So I feel like if the story is really going to center around Clive's revenge, the story should probably just focus on Clive's revenge. If you introduce all these different characters, then it kind of not necessarily takes away from Clive, but it kind of feels like you're diluting Clive's revenge plot. Like, why does he trust this person now?
Yeah, as long as those characters, as long as they're there as plot devices to further the impact of Clive, I'm cool with that. Yeah,
Yeah, same here.
Yeah, it's like, so if it's like you meet somebody later on, you make a decision that as Clive, and it's a very selfish decision, and you get this guy killed or you kill him. I don't, you know what I mean? Like, whatever furthers that character development of Clive, I'm all on board. I'm with you on that one. I want this story to be very focused on Clive. I like that idea. Yeah, I mean, and as far as party members go, it does, like, for me, I think there will be a party, because it has kind of that makings of, you go to these different cities, and I think you're going to kind of meet people just like you do in the originals. Final Fantasies, you'll pick up followers. But as you said, if this is a dark story and Clive's motives are not good, maybe the people you pick up are not going to be good people. You know what I mean? Like
well, and if you look at the trailer, even when he's with his group of assassins, he doesn't really seem like he's with them, if you know what I'm saying. Like, he seems like he's there because he either out of necessity, or like he's forced to be there, or something. He doesn't feel like he's actually a part of that group. He's
part of that group because it's just another stepping stone to get to his revenge. You know,
it reminds me of the Night's Watch.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it does actually. That's a good point. Very Games of Thronesy here. What if he accepts a deal with, instead of being the warrior of light, he accepts the deal to be a warrior of darkness? You know what I mean? Like, you get that.
I think he's going to.
Right. And like, if darkness, like a dark crystal or whatever you want to call it, is like, hey, seduced by the dark side, you know, you come over here and we'll grant you your power to bring back the one you love, or something, you know, like Star Wars, all over again, and just like make them.
So I'm going to make a bold prediction here. The trailer says the crystals, it's something to the effect of, the crystals have formed our world for too long or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I think Clive is going to end up being the end of the world.
Like, destroys all the crystals?
Yes. I think Clive might get it in his head that to get rid of Ifrit and to get rid of dominance in general, he's got to destroy the crystals. And not only is this a meta narrative of the franchise of itself, saying we're done with the crystals. The crystals are no longer Final Fantasy. This is what we're going to transition to.
For too long, yeah.
They shaped our history for too long. Clive comes in. Not only is he destroying the crystals of his world, he's destroying the crystals of the franchise.
Woo! All right, Clive. Good Lord.
I see what you're putting down. Let's do it, Clive.
I'll take my crown now.
Yeah, I love that idea. I'm on board, Alex.
Let's go blow up some crystals, man.
It's basically Final Fantasy XVI play as Kefka.
Yeah, how dark is this story going to get? Because if it's rated M like we think it's going to be, how dark are they going to go?
Like
they've already shown a dude getting exploded by a boulder.
Right.
Joshua gets blood all over his face, which I'm pretty sure that's his father getting killed in this trailer.
Bro.
In front of him. If that's really his father getting killed in front of him, this story is going to be dark as hell, and I'm all for it.
Me too.
I mean, who knows? Someone might get in between Clive and the crystal, and you're like, I don't want to do this, but I'm going to do this. And it could be Joshua, it could be Jill, it could be any of those.
What if he accidentally stabs Jill when she goes to stop him from destroying her crystal?
That's what I'm saying, you know?
I love it. I love it.
I mean, I don't want them to like destroy the character for the sake of being dark, but
Oh,
at the
yeah.
same time, Final Fantasy Type O and a few others have explored dark themes, and Type O is probably the most aggressive of that in Final Fantasy history.
Mhm.
If they really want to push the envelope with 16 and go M rating, gloves are off. I think there's no limit here to what they can do with it.
Yeah, just go all out with it if you're
Yeah,
gonna go
I
M
mean,
rating.
as you said, not for the sake of being dark. Don't do it for the sake of being dark. Like we saw it, or at least I'm one of the many, or one of the few, one of the
People.
yeah, I don't know. The vocal majority is very upset with Last of Us Part 2, but I loved Last of Us Part 2, and if you ever get a chance to play it, Alex, I highly recommend it. It is it's one of those stories. It's about revenge, so it gives you that vibe with 16, like about being about revenge, but it shows you it's not a hero. You know what I mean? It's not a hero's story. It has very, very real consequences and very, very real effects on the characters. And I would love to see that. And she does some dark stuff. Like Ellie does some dark stuff. And it's like, it wasn't dark for the sake of being dark. If you put it together, like one of the best stories I think has ever been told in video games. And I think a lot of people would argue with me on that one, but I think Last of Us Part 2 is one of the best stories ever told in a video game.
I love it.
Yeah,
It's so good.
It is
So good.
so insanely good that it blurs the line. You're not playing as a hero. You're not playing as a villain. You're just playing as this girl who has been deeply scorned. And if you have that with 16, you go along the lines of this is a revenge story, and he's going to do some dark stuff to get his revenge. At the end, whether or not he comes out of it a good man, you know what I mean, or if he destroys the world, who knows. But
I think we could see like a Gladiator moment where have you all seen Gladiator? I'm assuming.
Yeah.
yes.
Okay, so where he
entertained.
goes into the stadium and he fights the Emperor, and they end up killing each other.
Mm-hmm.
Like, could that be where he redeems himself for all the things that he's done throughout the story? Does he have that moment where he sacrifices himself for the betterment of the land? Maybe he's been dark this whole time, but he realizes through some epiphany that, like, hey, maybe I've kind of been an asshole for 60 hours. Let's tone it down a little bit.
Let's fix this in the last 2.5 hours. Why not?
Yeah.
Knowing Final Fantasy, the final thing that he gets his revenge, but then it turns into a god, and you have to fight the god of the and you're like, oh, wait a second, maybe I shouldn't be doing this.
Bahamut is coming. I'm telling you. There's no reason why they're all like the crystal names. They're all called Drakes something.
Yeah.
And if you put them together, they form a full Drake.
Oh my god.
Coming. It's happening.
Oh my
Megazord
god.
Bahamut. Megazord Bahamut. Bring it.
I'm calling it now.
The Megazord is Bahamut. Oh my god, dude. That is the coolest thing that's come out of this podcast. I didn't even think of that until now. I got all the Drake stuff. Like, I was like, oh, that's really cool references. But dude, all the crystals come together. Or all the dominants come together in some cheesy fashion in my mind right now, but they all come together and create Bahamut to take down Ifrit, maybe. I don't know.
They come together and form Zack, knowing how Final Fantasies go.
And you walk into it and you approach Midgar.
Don't you put that evil on us, Vinny.
Don't you put that evil on me, Vinny.
Clive be like, I'm gonna break all these crystals. I got a piece of this one. I got a piece of this one. I'm gonna put them all in my pocket. Poof! It's Zack.
I swear to God,
Fire!
I swear to God, if 16 has plot ghosts, I'm coming after you, Vinny.
Captain Bahamut.
We will fight in the street
with our Buster Swords
made of foam.
I think this is a great time to go on to our Mad Libs portion of the evening.
The main event.
This is gonna be fun. All right, Alex. So I don't think even the guys don't know either what game I'm going to be talking about here. So I'm going to give you. First I'm going to ask you for words. Okay, so you're going to give me like noun, locations, verbs, adjectives, and stuff like that, right? This is going to be a Final Fantasy game synopsis. All right. You're going to give me words to replace within this synopsis. I'm going to read the wacky new synopsis back to you, and you're going to have to guess what game it is based on the words that you've given me.
I'm so hyped.
Does that make sense? Yeah.
I think I get what you're putting down.
Okay. Now, Vinny and Osby are going to I'm going to ask you for the words, but if you want like to say like phone a friend or something, you can ask them for a word if you're stuck on thinking of a word. I don't know. But they're going to sit it out, and they can maybe help you out with the guessing part too if you request. This is your game. All right. I'm going to need a noun.
A noun?
Mm-hmm.
Jeff.
All right. This is already on it. All right. Location, just any location. It could
McDonald's.
be McDonald's.
Yeah, I'm hungry too.
This is it. This is better than I was anticipating already. All right, hold on. Gotta make sure I'm on the right one here.
Well, because otherwise it'd sound silly. Like,
all right, I need a noun. Otherwise, this is gonna sound. I need another noun.
Another noun.
Mm-hmm.
Jerry.
Let's do like a thing, like a not instead of a person or a place, do a thing.
Lamp.
Okay. I love lamp.
That's actually where I was going with that.
That's what was in my head.
Noun.
Ooh. Cat.
I need a name.
I'm gonna phone a friend on this one.
All right, give me a name, guys. Somebody.
Steve.
I was thinking Steve. We're on the same. Steve.
No
That's
way,
it,
you guys
Steve.
are thinking Steve at the same time. That's great. Adjective.
Carries. Wait.
Yeah, this is gonna
Yeah.
describes. Yep.
Fluffy.
Ooh, fluffy.
Give me an animal.
Platypus.
Nice. Good choice.
An adjective.
I'm gonna phone one in on that
Phone one in.
What was it? What, adjective?
An adjective.
Zesty.
Ooh,
All right, zesty.
That's an adjective.
Now I need another name.
Rick.
Oh God, a noun.
Dog.
Dog. Another noun.
All right, Osby, you're up.
banana.
I just read it. Oh God. Let me fill in these blanks because I have where it repeats sometimes. So.
A repeating banana.
An adjective, please.
Scary.
And then another adjective.
Phoning it in.
You get an adjective from Osby. Let's go, Osby.
Bouncy.
Okay, I just read it. I need a fantasy character, like a class, like a Dungeons and Dragons type.
Dragoon.
Like a dragon. Okay.
It's my main in Final Fantasy XIV, actually.
Nice.
I need to get to playing that.
Yes, you do.
I actually I'm gonna make a confession now. I have not played it either, just because I haven't done the monthly. Oh, he's like, and I agreed to be on the show.
I played it. I played it for 2 years as a white mage trap. So bring it on, baby. Jiggle
Okay.
physics.
I mean, now that the trial is out and the trial is like, don't you get to play the entire full first like vanilla game? Don't you?
You get vanilla game and first expansion entirely free, including subscription fee.
So
Yeah,
was it?
I think that's what I'm gonna have to jump on now.
Was it 11 or 14 that had the boss that made people like throw up and go to the hospital?
That was 11. That was
11.
I
It was
have
like
the name and I can't think of it. It's like
something judgment or
yeah, it took like
I remember
72
that.
hours to beat.
mhm.
Oh, you mean like real life people threw up?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember that. A noun. This is the last one.
Golf cart.
A golf cart. All right. I'm going to read the synopsis back to you now. And you're going to have to guess what game it is. So try and pay attention.
Is it Final Fantasy game or is it okay?
It is a Final Fantasy game, so I'll give you that.
I was gonna say because this might be a little hairy if it's anything else but Final Fantasy, unless it's like painfully obvious.
All right. At the forefront of a rising Jeff of violence brought on by McDonald's war declaration is a Lamp Cat member, Steve. Fluffy to a fault, Steve has earned himself the reputation of being a platypus. A chance encounter with the zesty spirited Rick, however, turns his dog upside down. Having thrived on bananas, Steve finds Rick's scary attitude bouncy. Yet, there is no time to ponder these thoughts, for the job of dealing with the dragoon behind McDonald's irrational golf cart has fallen to Lamp and Steve.
You wrong for that. I just want you to know just a little bit.
A little bit.
I can read it back again if you would like.
Yeah, read it back again.
I'll try to do it better this time. At the forefront of a rising Jeff of violence, brought on by McDonald's war declaration, is a Lamp Cats member, Steve. Fluffy to a fault, Steve has earned himself a reputation of being a platypus. A chance encounter with the zesty spirited Rick, however, turns his dog upside down. Having thrived on bananas, Steve finds Rick's scary attitude bouncy. Yet there is no time to ponder these thoughts, for the job of dealing with the dragoon behind McDonald's irrational golf cart has fallen to Lamp and Steve.
I feel like Daniel doesn't even know which synopsis it is, and he's the one who made it.
He's like, hold on, let me double check. Let me look back. Hold on.
I want to say it's a mainline, but I almost feel like it's not. Are we talking like Final Fantasy in general or like Final Fantasy mainline? Because I have an idea for mainline, but
Do you? I can grant that. I think I will grant that wish. It is mainline.
is it 5?
Is that your final answer?
Oh,
I don't know, Regis.
Is it? I'm gonna go with 5. I'm gonna lock in 5.
Let's go lock in 5. Now, we have Soldier's guess. Vinny and Osby, would you guys like to take a stab at it?
Is it 6?
Okay, so Vinny's is 6. Osby
I'm gonna go with 9.
going 9.
I thought 9, but I was like,
Soldier, what makes you think? You said 5, right?
yeah.
What makes you think 5? What
So
stands out?
The chance encounter, because I feel like if I remember right in the beginning of 5, isn't it like the meteor crashes to the earth or whatever? and like he wakes up and there's like a chocobo and shit, like,
Okay,
and then
okay.
I want to say, and then you like meet somebody.
Zesty Rick.
It's been it's been a long time since I played 5, but I feel like at the beginning you meet somebody and it's like this chance thing. I can't remember exactly. It's been a long time since I played 5.
I will read you the actual synopsis, and you'll probably get. Well, you're going to get it right away because there's names in here that I had to replace. At the forefront of a rising tide of violence brought on by Galbadia's war declaration is a Seed cadet member, Squall Leonhardt. Serious to a fault, Squall has earned himself the reputation of being a lone wolf. A chance encounter with the free-spirited Renoa Hartley, however, turns his universe upside down. Having thrived on discipline, Squall finds Renoa's carefree attitude fascinating. Yet there is no time to ponder these thoughts, for the job of dealing with the sorceress behind Galbadia's irrational hostility has fallen to Seed and Squall.
I should have known that. That's
Why didn't you get it, man? It was Zesty Rick the whole time.
Yeah.
If it makes you feel any better, we all failed at that, and
That was actually kind of hard. Like
Right, it's fun, man. I love playing that game. Just taking synopsis and stuff. I did it with Shadow of Colossus when I was doing game night podcast, and the Shadow Colossus was hilarious. We were talking like murky forest of tacos and stuff.
I love Shadow of the Colossus, by the way.
Yes, yeah,
and
man.
Murky Forest of Tacos, those are pretty good too.
The murky forest of tacos.
I do love tacos.
Oh man. Well, Alex, I do believe that has brought us to the end of this show. Is there anything you would like to talk about before we sign off?
No, I think we pretty much covered it all.
Thank you so much for being on the show, Soldier. It has been an absolute privilege to talk to you.
It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, man.
I'd definitely like to come back sometime.
Yes, that's what we love to hear, man. That's what we love to hear. I'd love to have you back on the show. And once again, I've just respected your work. In all seriousness, I know that it is work, that to do all this content that you create, and I respect it. I respect your opinions, your thoughts during your videos, and you have done a good service to the Final Fantasy community. And yeah, man, I just wanted to personally say thank you since I have you on the show. Thank you for doing what you do.
I appreciate the kind words. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
Yeah, you're awesome, man.
Appreciate you, man. Thank you so much.
What a great time. Thanks for joining us for this episode. And please be sure, if you haven't, for some reason, you're watching Final Fan TV and you haven't subscribed to Soldier First Class, please, by all means, the link will be in the description. Go follow that link. Go subscribe to Soldier First Class. I know you're probably here watching this because you're from Soldier First Classes. But yes, subscribe to him. He's a great content creator here on YouTube and Twitch. And yeah, so that's it. We're going to sign off there. Thank you so much for watching. This has been Final Podcast. Let me see if I can get my cool. There it is. Let's just sign off.